Hi everybody, Joel here with A&J Education, and today we're doing a short video on when the right time to start applying to university is. Okay, so my first piece of advice would be that it's never too early to start the application process as a whole. And that doesn't mean that you've got to turn in your UCAS choices as soon as you can, or start making direct applications to international universities as soon as you can. It just means that maybe a year, maybe 18 months before you're thinking about applying, start thinking about what subjects or courses that you want to do when you get to university and which universities you'd like to do them at. And what that'll allow you to do is A, see what grades you need, so what disparity there is between what what grades you're expected to get and what grades you need to get into these universities, what kind of extra work needs to be in and whether you're going to have to take any extra exams. And it's always better to know this early, so you can start working with your school, working with your teachers to generate all the extra materials and prepare for any extra tests. And get the references and predicted grades you need to stand a chance to get into your university of choice. So if you've done the first stage properly, hopefully this will have come naturally. But say you've left it until only a few months before sort of UCAS opens or before your final year of school or something like that, and you're wanting to find out what the first thing you need to do is. Obviously, it's going to depend on the university when you need to get your applications in. So some universities in the UK will require an earlier application than others, some in January, but for Oxford and Cambridge, certainly you have to get them in by October 15th. And so it's always worth, even if you haven't done your research properly, even if you don't do anything else, the most important thing is to find out when you need to apply by and what you need to send in with your application. Okay, so for my third point, say you've done stage, number one, you've started preparing early, you've seen exactly what you need to do and where you need to be in order to have the best application possible, and you know that you don't have to necessarily get in an early application for a university. You've got a few months left, and you're like, well, do I submit my UCAS or my applications now, or do I do that later? And a determining factor in whether which of the answers to that question it's going to be is just whether your predicted grades are at the level that you need yet, or whether your references are at the level that they need yet. And the thing is, you don't really want to rush. If your references or predicted grades aren't what would be ideal, and you think you could improve it if you took another month, another couple of months, if you work with your teachers, you work with a tutor or whatever, then it's absolutely worth waiting that extra bit of time, not rushing ahead of yourself, and just building the best application that you can, because that will do far more to help your success than an early submission. So point number 4 is actually that whether or not it matters that you submit an early application, whether it increases your chances to submit an application well before the university's deadline, often actually depends on the university itself. So that's something that it's worth researching. So some universities just have this sort of first come, first serve basis. So they have this sort of minimum requirement that they need for certain courses, and as and when they receive applications in, they'll just fill up the course if the applicant has got the grades that they need, and then they just sort of like draw a line under it. So they're like, okay, well, we got 200 people in for English literature, and they all had predicted B's across the board or whatever. And so for those universities, and sometimes you can find out this information online, it's certainly worth sending in an early application. However, other universities are very explicit, and they say, look, no, what we do is every application that gets sent to us before the application deadline, we just hold over here. We don't look at any of them until the application deadline has gone past, and then we open them up and we look, and we just basically evaluate who are the strongest candidates from within that pool. And if that's the case, then it just doesn't really matter. There isn't really that much advantage over applying very, very early, or applying a minute, or submitting a minute before the deadline is due. There are, however, other universities which do a sort of mixture between the two. where what happens is you send in the applications, and they've got a number of spots which they'll give to early and very strong applicants that they're like, well, we're nearly 100% certain that they're going to be at the top of the pool at the end of the submission period anyway, and then for the rest of the sort of 50 places or whatever that they're holding to just see, then they'll choose from that pool. So I would recommend looking to see which kind of what kind of system the university that you're applying for uses, because that's going to inform whether you feel pressured to make an early application or not. If that information isn't available online, and just to sum up the entirety of this video, I'd say that the best tactic is to always submit before the deadline and just submit the strongest application that you can as early as you can. Never sacrifice the strength of your application in order to submit early. Even though it's nice to have that peace of mind, it's always better to present yourself as strongly as possible, and that has always got to be the priority. So if you're still panicking about your university application, or you're trying to decide what universities to go to, what courses to do, or anything like that to do with education, there's loads of helpful videos on our channel. So you either click on our channel link or just look sort of down there somewhere, and you should see a playlist full of other sort of useful information. If you want to hear more from us in the future, please hit like and subscribe. I think the subscribe button should be down there. Give that a click and you'll hear about any more information that comes out in the near future. Anyway, see you again.